Trust. It's a dreadful thing to lose trust in people or an organisation. And that's how I felt when I realised the BBC wasn't trustworthy anymore. Well, not for me anyway. I lost trust in the BBC years ago. But the BBC is a good catalyst to use when you're talking to people. You know how I say, if just one person who watches this tells one other person, the word of mouth in opening people's eyes is very powerful. So if 20,000 people see this and all mention it to 20,000 more, that's 40,000 people that know, and then you've got the snowball effect. So with the BBC, I think a real good gambit to open with is where do you get your news from type conversation. And if they say the BBC, or you can say, do you get your news from the BBC? Generally they'll say yes. And you can just say, well, I haven't trusted the BBC since they gave us Jimmy Savile as a children's entertainer. Boom. Mic drop moment. It's a good opener. And then you've got all the other high profile celebrities like Rolf Harris and Stuart Hall. The list is endless. I've found 22 in half an hour. And the amazing thing, the latest one, which is Alexandra Westwood, he's raped someone. He's an actor. He's raped someone, a schoolgirl that was being tutored by him. And he's got other offences. It's described by the BBC as an actor from Netflix, and that's in the headline, but they don't mention the fact he worked for the BBC in a series called Doctors. And there's been many more over the last 10 years, actors and presenters, and we all know Hugh Edwards. These are people that have got obscene images of children having things done to them that can clearly not be consensual, because children can't consent to things like that. They're supposed to have adults to protect them. So when you get something as untrustworthy as that, and then you look at how they handled Gaza, they did a documentary on Gaza, and guess what? They've had to pull it off air. That's a powerful thing to get the BBC to take something down. And guess where the power came from? Social media. A journalist and other people uncovered the fact that the child that they were using to narrate a documentary supposed to purvey reality, was actually the son of a Hamas minister, a 14-year-old lad allegedly called Abdullah. The journalist called David Collier was on GB News, and he explained how when he was watching it, it was about an hour into watching it, and he thought something was wrong. So he started Googling it, and he managed to find the child who'd appeared as the child of another set of parents in a documentary by Channel 4 some 14 months earlier. So we get back to trust. How can you trust the state broadcaster when they're basically delivering propaganda? They either want to do that or they haven't done the due diligence to find out it wasn't genuine. Either way, it stinks. Now, it was no different a few years ago, and this is why I won't cover the Middle East. I tried my best with Syria. Remember when it all kicked off with Syria and ISIS, and there was that footage being shown of kids being rescued from rubble, and that boy sat in the ambulance covered in dust, and he touches his head. Alan, I think he was called. Even I changed my cover photo to it. And then I found out through investigating and watching other things that this child, someone said, well, that's not a natural thing for it. A child wouldn't sit there with such an injury and not cry. He would be in pain, and the natural thing for a child to do is cry. Plus, you wouldn't leave a child with that injury sat on a seat for nearly 3 minutes being filmed while people are off doing something else. You'd be attending to their head injury. So it turns out that was fake. And the kid being rescued from the rubble manages to get to safety. But guess what? It's also featured in another bomb blast being rescued from the rubble. The same child. Then the white helmets get caught out because they were doing staged events using wind machines and a bag of cement timed with a sound of an explosion, looking like it's really happened when really it was just staged stuff. And they actually gave the excuse when they got caught, and they did get caught, that they were doing the mannequin challenge, because the footage that came out showed them in position, ready to rescue someone, and then action, and then they move. So they said they were doing the mannequin challenge. Remember that a few years ago when people stood stationary for charity. Rescuing people out of the rubble where their faces are covered in dust, but their bodies are clean. There was so much dodgy footage going around, and I've got to say, since this Gaza situation, that kind of dodgy footage with AI has been in overdrive, which is why I won't discuss it. Because most people who are having their hearts ripped apart watching awful images, some of them are AI and some of them are fake, and it's always been that way. And unfortunately, we haven't got the trust that we should have in our state broadcaster because they've let us down repeatedly. They're tanking support. People are cancelling their TV licences every week. Now, allegedly, the government's confirmed that the licence fee will stay in place till 2027. What you've got to read into that is they're saying it will stay in place till 2027. They used to deny it would ever get taken away. They used to say, no, there'll always be the licence fee, there's a need for it. People are live streaming films and TV shows. We don't need to sit there and watch for an episode or something at 8 o'clock. We can find our own entertainment. We certainly can't rely on them for news. I'm not saying that ITV and Channel 4 are any better. They run on the same ilk. But I think with the media, things are going to change pretty rapidly. Look, the UK is in a bit of a bubble at the moment because of who we've got running the country. We've got a bloke who's got the charisma of a dead cod on a badly arranged fish counter, who has absolutely no empathy or compassion for people. He just stormtroops through, delivering his own Marxist-style agenda that's suitable for the West, not the country. So we're a bit in the doldrums, really, but it will change, especially if you get a better party in. But to get anything to change, you need regime change. That's the only way to address it. You need a change of authority figures, and we haven't had a change for 20 years. We've had different leaders, but they've all been offering pretty much the same stuff. But the big thing is what's happening in America. And when you look at Donald Trump's cabinet, a lot of thought's gone into this. JFK with health. Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, you couldn't get much better than that. And today we find out that the Epstein files are going to be released. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General in the US, the newly appointed Attorney General, who was previously the Attorney General of Florida. So she's a lot of experience, good-looking woman. She's about 50. She is a tiger. She tells us that they're going to be released, and she actually said in a Fox News broadcast that there are over 250 victims, and what you read about is sick. That's what she said. Now, it seems funny that, all of a sudden the Hunter Biden laptop situation has been proven to be real. The last administration ignored it all and played it down. Same with Epstein. This is going to be massive, what happens in America. Not just Epstein, but the way they will handle the media. They're defunding CNN from government funding because Trump has realised long ago that he calls them the fake media. And they are fake. They're just delivering the same narrative because the same 6 companies own them all. And that's why you don't get any real news. That's why there's no investigative reporting. It's been left to Tommy Robinson, actually. He's been the most investigative reporter. And I think there's a place for his firm Urban Scoop in the future. Let's hope that he's still being looked after where he is. So without digressing, I want to talk about the BBC and the media mainly. They will have their comeuppance because it cannot survive in its present format because people don't want it. They're turning away from it. And what do you need if you're in the media? You need an audience. If nobody turns up to watch my videos, I'm redundant. As in, I have ceased to exist for a reason on YouTube. It's pointless. Everybody's in the same boat. People are turning away. They're going to podcasts for the news. They're going to people they want to. They're going to people who they like the delivery of. They're going to people they can trust, who's going to tell them the truth and not cover things up. And the BBC isn't doing that. It's a dead duck is the BBC. Even people on Countryfile, everything is geared up to this woke agenda and this fake narrative about the race to zero. So you're not going to... I mean, theoretically, with more people in the country and more people with TVs, the BBC should be growing their licence fees. It should be growing, but they pander to this younger audience who don't even bother with television. They watch what they want to watch on their devices. They don't even know about TV licences. So I'll never understand the way they do this. But there's stuff coming out all the time. Another big thing, I'm going to read out what I've put as a comment if you go on the comment section on my YouTube channel. Someone I really respect messaged me this morning and he said, small but highly significant, Dominic Cummings has called for people to back reform. Cummings has always been very anti-Farage and dismissive of him. Cummings' instincts are very good. This is some real good news. I replied, I agree. He's an excellent strategist and this will be born out of logic, not spite. Something you need to understand about Dominic Cummings is a bit odd, not easy to warm to, and I wouldn't like to cross him. So if you've got him on side, he's an asset. It was never ever Boris's man, and he couldn't stand Farage, even right through Brexit. It was Gove's man, it was Gove's strategist. He's an unusual character, a bit autistic. I'm not saying he is, I don't know if he is, but that type of thing. But he can foresee things. He said that after Brexit, politics would change forever. It would be dragged out and not achieved easily, if achieved at all. This is a guy with insight. He's super intelligent and he's mad. He's annoyed because he was brought in to clean up the civil service, which is just what wants doing. And they didn't allow him to do that because what happened? Oh, Boris listened to his woke wife and replaced all the people that he should have replaced. He replaced them with woke people. And that's why you can't trust Boris Johnson. And that's why this business of the pack, showing a picture of Nick Tanconi, Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson, Ben Habib, Rupert Lowe, it's just rubbish. It's just fantasy land. But the fact that Cummings will actually recommend Nigel Farage, that's a big deal. That's a massive deal. And if he did come on board as a strategist, that would be good news because he's clever. And he obviously knew what the lockdowns were about because he took that risk going up to Durham. Far too much was made of that. What we should have done here, this is the bit that always amazed me with Partygate, when Boris was under the cosh, I understand, because we're all locked down and he's partying. But what I'll never get over is the focus, again, by the media, the BBC, the ITV, the big boys, the focus was on Partygate, Partygate, Partygate. And, oh, they shouldn't have done it, they shouldn't have done it. No, this is where my focus was. Hang on a minute, Partygate, all that time ago, all those people milling around and nobody got sick and nobody went to hospital and nobody died. You could have treated that like a study and said, well, clearly, we've all mixed, we've all done all this, we've all got on with our lives. It's safe to open the country. Shouldn't that have been the focus? Because that's what I'd have done if I was Boris Johnson. I'd have turned it on its head. I'd have said, hang on a minute, yes, we did all that. Open the country. If we're doing it and we're safe, that's like a study group. Correct me if I'm wrong. So when you think how the media in that instance focused on you, keeping you with the blinkers on, Partygate, Partygate, think about Boris Johnson, it's wrong what's gone on. Yes, it's wrong, but shouldn't have been the focus. The focus should have been, if you're having a normal life, why aren't we? That's what the focus should have been. And that's why I don't trust the BBC, and that's why I don't trust the big news broadcasters, because they cannot be trusted, because they do not deliver. You know, Holly and Phil hugging through plastic? Really? Come on. So I think now with this new Trump administration, if you look at who's in the cabinet, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, I think they're going to change what's happened to the West. They're going to pull it back and they're going to make America great again. That will impact on us. Mark my words, Starmer won't get his own way with the Chagos Islands. You watch. He'll have to buckle under to America. He's got no choice and he's too proud to admit it. We're being run on that man's ego. He's a dreadful character. He's got no empathy. He's lied about everything. I don't like calling people liars, but at the end of the day, when you're telling people you'll get something and then when you get to power, you deny it them, surely that's a lie, isn't it? And it's perpetuated by the media. So I think we're going to see big changes. Don't worry about Starmer being in power. What we need time for the Reform Party. which is basically 5 blokes in Parliament and scratching around, trying to get their act together, doing these fantastic conferences where they even get Antifa outside. You know, these guys are so nice, they have their faces covered up. There isn't even anything to tell you to do it. There's no legislation, who must cover your face up, is there? Oh no, but they're all masked. So, you know, show your face if you've got any courage. And then why, if you're hiding it, why? They're all outside these various conferences that they have. Intimidation, that is. And where's the police? So you need a regime change to change anything, because it's got to come from the top. And we need a government that will sort the police out, scrap the College of Policing, sort the media out. That will happen. And then you've got a country, because then everybody can be told the reality of what's going on rather than conducting a narrative. And the BBC, it'll be toast. Toast. They should fend for themselves. They should make their own money from advertising revenue and see how much they get. So I'm pretty hopeful for the future, because I do think things will change, and we have to keep the pressure on. This is the fight. Us, me talking to you, you talking to other people. It spreads out like a big net. Other podcasts that you'll watch, like Planet Normal or Trigonometry, they've all got something to offer, something you can take away from it. Gather your thoughts, talk to other people. You are the fight back. It's not just about the bloggers and the podcasters. It's about the people listening to them. The most important people are the ones listening, who are prepared to just have a little conversation with someone. Just open up a bit of a debate. Don't have to get nasty, don't have to get heated. Just have to drop those seeds of doubt.